grab a cup of coffee, tea, or hot cocoa, get comfortable, and let the book of Exodus begin. As time went by, Joseph and his brothers passed away, ending that generation. Their descendants had many children and grandchildren. They multiplied quickly and filled the land. Now a new king came to the throne in Egypt and knew nothing about Joseph and all that he had done. He then told his people, "These Israelites are becoming a threat to us, as they have become so many. We must find a way to put an end to this. If we don't and war breaks out, they will join our enemies and fight against us. Then they will escape from this country." They then made the Israelites their slaves and put brutal slave drivers over them, hoping to weigh them down under heavy burdens. They forced them to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses as supply centers for the king. The more the Egyptians oppressed them, the faster the Israelites multiplied. Soon this alarmed the Egyptians, so they made their slavery more bitter. They were ruthless with the Israelites and forced them to make bricks and mortar. They made them work long hours in the fields. Pharaoh, whom was the king of Egypt, gave instructions to the Hebrew midwives. Their names were Shiphrah and Puah. He told them, "When you help the Hebrew women give birth, kill all the boys as soon as they are born. Only allow the baby girls to live." Because the midwives feared God, they allowed the boys to live and refused to obey the king. The king then called for the midwives and demanded, "Why have you done this? Why have you allowed the boys to live?" They replied, "Sir, the Hebrew women are so strong. They have their babies before we even get there. They are not slow in giving birth like the Egyptian women." God then blessed the midwives, and the Israelites continued to multiply, growing more and more powerful. Because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Pharaoh then gave all his people an order: "Throw all the newborn Israelites into the Nile River, but spare the baby girls." During this time, from the tribe of Levi, a man and woman got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw how beautiful he was and kept him hidden for 3 months. When she couldn't keep him any longer, she got a basket made of pulpris reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid along the edge of the Nile River among the reeds. The baby's sister stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen to him. Not long after this, one of Pharaoh's daughters came down to the river to bathe. She walked along the river bank with her servants. When she saw the basket among the reeds, she told one of her servants to go and get it for her. As the princess opened the basket and saw the baby crying helplessly, her heart was touched. Then said, "He must be one of the Hebrew children." The baby's sister then approached the princess and offered to get a Hebrew lady to nurse the baby for her. The princess replied, "Yes, do." The girl then rushed home and called the baby's mother. The princess then told her, "Take this baby home and nurse him for me. I will pay you for your help." So the baby's mother took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when he was older, the child's mother brought him back to the princess, and she adopted him as her son. The princess named him Moses, for she said, "I drew him out of the water." Many years later, when Moses was all grown up, he went to visit his people, which were the Israelites. He saw just how hard they were working. During his visit, he saw an Egyptian beating one of the Hebrew slaves. Moses looked around to see if anyone was watching, then killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. The next day, Moses was visiting his people again and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. Moses went up to the one that was in the wrong and asked, "What are you doing hitting your neighbor like that?" The man replied, "Who do you think you are? Who appointed you to be our prince and judge? Do you plan to kill me like you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" Moses was badly frightened as he learned that everyone knew what he had done. And sure enough, Pharaoh gave orders to have Moses arrested and killed when he heard what had happened. Moses, however, managed to escape and fled to the land of Midian. Moses arrived in Midian and sat down beside a well. The priest of Midian had 7 daughters that would regularly come to this well and draw water to fill the water troughs of their father's flocks. Other shepherds would come and chase the girls away and their flocks. But then Moses came to their rescue, then helped them draw water from the well. When the girls returned to their father Reuel, he asked, "How did you get the flocks watered so quickly today?" They replied, "An Egyptian came and rescued us from the shepherds and then drew water for us. And he watered the flocks too." Their father asked, "Well, where is he? Did you leave him there? Go and invite him to come for a meal." Moses was happy to accept this invitation and settled down to live with them. As time went by, Reuel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah to be his wife. They later on had a son and named him Gershom. For Moses said, "I have been a stranger in a foreign land." Years went by and the king of Egypt passed away, but the Israelites continued to groan beneath their slavery burden. They cried out for help, and God heard their pleas for deliverance. God heard their cries, remembering his covenant promise with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He looked down on the Israelites and felt deep concern for their welfare.